Welcome back, ink drinkers, to our very first episode of The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. Another new genre for us. We're
Mhm.
diving into cozy fantasy this time.
Yeah. And you've heard us talk, if you've watched some of our previous episodes, about how much we just love Sarah Beth Durst's writing. She does have some backlogs that are still in the fantasy world, but very different from what we're diving into for this particular book in our next couple episodes. But they're just as good. So if cozy's not your vibe, but you like her as an author, you can try those backlogs too.
And this book is technically the second book
Hmm.
that was published in the Spell Shop universe. However, they are episodic, so you don't have to have read the Spell
Mm-mm.
Shop to enjoy this book. There are some crossover, but no spoilers or anything. Um, so you can feel free to read them in any order. And actually, just at the end of last month, the third book, Sea of Charms, came
Yes.
out on July 28th. So definitely check that one out. That one is high on my list at the moment too.
All right, let's dive in.
Yeah?
All right, so the beginning of this book, we are meeting our female main character, Terlu. And she kind of threw us right into like all of the, I don't even like turmoil in a sense, because we see her at court, and not a royal court, but like being judged. Like
Yeah.
she has been,
Mhm.
she's being tried for casting a spell, and she's even like openly admitting, I love that we're in her head
Yeah.
so quickly. Like you're hearing her thoughts and getting a tiny
Mhm.
bit of her backstory. And it's kind of heartbreaking
Mhm.
because she's like, well, she cast the spell to make a sentient plant, this sentient spider plant, Kaz.
Mhm.
And she did it because she was so lonely at her job in the great library. And like
Mhm.
immediately this endeared me to Terlu within the first couple like paragraphs of this book. I was like already like, wait a second, that's all she did. And they want to
Mhm.
like, oh
Yes, she just cast a spell because she's been relegated to a floor that not many people are on,
mhm,
and she doesn't have anybody to talk to, and she just wants like a little buddy. She's a social person. Um poor, like, it's just, she's so sweet,
mhm.
and you just want to hug her. And then you meet Righteous Velt,
Yes.
who is the head librarian, and you will have heard her name in other spell shop books. But she is defending
Mhm.
Terlu and saying nobody got hurt, it didn't endanger anyone, you know, this, while she shouldn't have done it and she won't do it again, like, this really shouldn't, doesn't constitute something this big.
Yeah.
And so I felt like grateful that there was somebody in her corner.
Yeah.
Like, she's just this poor little lonely girl that's trying to get by, figure out some way to, have a friend during the day.
Yeah.
And now she's being severely punished.
Yeah. Well, and I found it interesting too. I feel like Sarah Beth Durst did a good job to kind of capture some of the dynamics of the Crescent City Islands empire here,
Mhm.
because I was like, okay, this spell that she cast seems very like small, very menial,
Mhm.
considering what like spell casting could do, right?
Mhm.
And so it's kind of explained that only elite sorcerers
Yeah.
are allowed to use magic and have like access to the spell books in the Great Library. Now she works in the Great Library, so like she's she's got access to some of this.
Mhm.
She does say that like she can't get to certain floors because she doesn't have like almost like clearance level. But it just does a she does a really good job of kind of setting up like this like hierarchy that's easy to understand pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And then we get her punishment, and I thought it was pretty harsh.
Not only do we think it's harsh, but Righteous Velk, the head librarian,
Mhm.
thinks it's very harsh. Um, Terlu is shocked, and it is very, very obvious that she is being made an example of, to make sure that, the judge is basically like, if we let her off, other people are going to try to do small spells,
Mhm.
and then people will try and do bigger and bigger spells until there's a problem. So we have to make sure that we make an example out of her. And what they're going to do is turn her into a statue, which sounds absolutely terrifying.
Mhm.
And she has all of these questions like,
Yeah.
does this mean I'm going to die? Am I going to be alive in there? How does this work? For how long? And they
Mhm.
don't even tell her.
No.
It's so, like, it just feels so jarring.
Yeah, it does, and we get, at the end of this chapter, you get, like, little flashes of her consciousness,
Yes.
like, in and
So
out,
sad.
and it's super sad, and, like, I'm just sitting here going, how much time is passing in these little
Mhm.
flashes? Is this minute to minute? Is this months? Is this years?
Mhm.
You can tell that, her environment's changing a little bit before she finally gets to like her library spot because she does
Mhm.
then say that she's around people. And you can hear like her starvation, even as a
Mhm.
statue, for interaction. And it's just whew, a lot to take in the
Yeah.
first chapter.
Well, for somebody who did this because she was lonely to then be
Mhm.
cast in a statue,
Yeah.
like, that's even worse, you know what I mean? And she ends up in a storage room for a little while, and
Mhm.
then they put her, I think, on the 4th floor, so people with a plaque that basically
Yeah.
says, "This is what will happen if you use magic outside of what you're allowed."
Mhm.
And it's just like, it's so sad. I don't know what's worse. Being a statue sounds terrible. I
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
Mm-mm. Um, and then the next time we see her, because like we're in and out of consciousness and
Mhm.
everything, she's starting to feel.
Mhm.
And she's noticing the cold weather and that there's snow hitting her, which is confusing because we were told and we just saw her being put in a
In a
library.
library.
So, like,
Mhm.
either my first thought was, okay, either something's happened to the library and there's some damage that's gone and there's snow coming through, or she's not in the library anymore. Like, wow,
Mhm.
that's a severe change for her to go through so quickly.
Well, and even the fact that she's feeling, we
Hmm.
know that she's probably destatuifying. Um, because she's had no feeling. She's had
Hmm.
some moments of consciousness that we've
Hmm.
seen, but no feeling whatsoever. And so we know she's coming out of it, and that sounds absolutely terrifying, but also euphoric. Like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I don't know
Hmm.
what's going on, but holy crap, I can feel again.
Hmm.
And things are happening after being stuck as a statue for so long, realizing that you're like coming back to life has to
Hmm.
be such like an amazing feeling, but so jarring not
Yeah.
knowing where you are and that now there's snow. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, how much time has passed, what made the spell end, like,
Super
s
overwhelming.
overwhelming, I couldn't even imagine. So her trying to find because it was a spell, so somebody has to be around, and her
Mhm.
stumbling through this, like, forested area that she's not recognizing, she's clearly not in Elysium where she originally was,
Yeah. Mhm.
um, and she finds this, like, beautiful greenhouse. And she can't find anybody, but we have an animal companion question
There's always an animal
mark?
companion. One thing, like, as she's stumbling, she's
Mhm.
like, "Is this part of my punishment?" And that, like, hit me
Yes.
so that felt so dark for me for a cozy, like,
Yeah.
are you, like, letting me out to, like, starve or something in the
Mhm.
wilderness? Like, that was so I feel like, wow,
Yeah.
that felt a little dark. But she finds the greenhouse, and then we she doesn't see an obvious door to get in, but there's a winged cat.
Yes.
Now, we are cat people. We love cats. And so I'm so excited to see another like just version of
Uh-huh.
a cat. Um and she ends up figuring out that there is a door.
Mhm.
She like runs her hand along the wall until she finds a latch and she
Yeah.
opens it and is actually I'm like, get inside before you freeze,
Yes,
girlfriend, because
seriously.
I'm assuming she only has the clothes that she had on when she was frozen as a statue.
Yeah.
And we do in chapter 1 get an idea of her stature. She
Mhm.
says she's on the shorter side, and I wrote down, she describes herself as pleasantly plump,
Yes.
and she has like her skin is lavender. One thing I like about Sarah Beth Durst is that her characters are so like different,
Mhm.
and the way she describes things, she's very descriptive.
Mhm.
Like when she's talking about the cold or the dark or seeing the greenhouse,
Yeah.
like I'm not a visual reader. I don't often like have a movie going in my head, but I feel like with Sarah Beth Durst's description, like I feel like I can picture more. So she's little, so
Mhm.
whatever snow is on the ground is probably up higher, making it
Yeah.
harder and harder for her to walk.
I feel that.
You know, same. My center of gravity is quite low to the ground. You need to get inside, girly pop, before you freeze.
Yes, seriously. And I do love this little winged cat because, I mean,
Yes.
come on, who doesn't love an animal companion? Um, we also get a little bit of like a background ish on Terelu, which I like.
Mhm.
She kind of talks, no, not like super background because like we knew she was a librarian, like
Yeah.
she was working in the
Mhm.
stacks and everything. But she talked about how when she first set out to be a librarian that she was in her training and she was hoping like her idea of it all was like to be able to interact with others and to be sharing in knowledge and doing research and
Mhm.
all these kinds of things. But while she was training, um, laws changed
Yeah.
regarding magic. And so when she was done with her training, she got reassigned to the stacks on the lower levels. So she wasn't in such a public facing role as she was hoping for, like as she had
Mhm.
dreamed for. Um, and I was thinking about you as I was reading so much when it came to Terelu because she has a love for languages. This girl
Yes.
is
Mhm.
gifted. I think she says something about being able to speak and read like 9 to 11 different
Mhm.
languages within this world. And talks about her love of how like words are
Yeah.
made and the history of them and even
Mhm.
finding like lost languages. So I was, as I was reading, I was very much kind of
Mhm.
picturing, I don't know, a little bit of you and Terelu.
Yeah, she is. She's a woman after my own heart as far as like research and linguistics and all of that. And it's just so sad because she wanted to spread that knowledge to other
Mhm.
people, but once these laws changed, it like severely restricted who could have access to magic. So there just weren't as many people coming through the
Mhm.
library, and so they didn't have as many outward facing like need
Mhm.
for interactive people. And
Yeah.
to me, like one question I had reading this, especially
Mhm.
she's by herself, she
Mhm.
doesn't know what's going on, is what's worse, being a statue in a place full of people,
Mhm.
or being alive again but being alone?
Alone.
Like which
Mhm.
one is actually worse for her? I feel like she's kind of back where she
A
started,
little bit, yeah.
trying to figure out. She's just kind of like stumbling alone. I guess she has the cat, which, I mean,
I mean,
that's a big point.
the cat settled like a little scarf around her neck, which I thought was so
Oh,
endearing. Oh.
that would be perfect. None of mine will do that. I have 3, and none of them will do that. But she finally gets into the greenhouse, and there's all of these plants, and she thinks
Mhm.
to herself, "Why not?" So she tries to talk to them,
Yep.
and none of them respond.
No.
But I mean, we have flying cats, and she knows that sentient plants exist, so why
Mhm.
not? I mean,
Yes.
come on. But we get into her accomplishments and her languages and
Mhm.
all of that, and I I'm like way too introverted. So like listening to her talk about how she wanted to like actually interact with the public,
Yeah.
and how bubbly she is, and she never knows a stranger and all that kind of stuff, actually reminded me of my husband. It's like my academics with like my husband's extrovertedness, which is so funny. Um, but she just like, I just love her.
Mhm.
She I cannot wait to see more of her use her skills because she has to be here for a reason.
Yeah.
And so I just like that part was like, ooh, yay,
Yeah.
you know.
As we're getting to see this very beautiful greenhouse, the whole
Mhm.
time I'm sitting here learning more about her, getting her personality, her very much like social butterfly aspect.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay, somebody had to have woken her up from this spell,
Mhm.
destatutified her. But why? What's the
Mhm.
purpose? How did this happen? So in the back of my head, I'm sitting here going, okay, can we find whoever did this? Because I am dying to know like what all is going on.
And why did they just leave her outside?
Yeah.
Why didn't they try to wake her up inside a greenhouse?
How long did that spell take that they
Yeah.
walked away from?
Mhm.
Like, what?
And then she starts exploring the greenhouse and
Yes.
finds there's another greenhouse, and that
Yes.
one has a magical sun
Yes.
inside. And so there are actually a bunch of different interconnected greenhouses, but there
Mhm.
doesn't seem to be any people.
Nope.
There's just lots and lots of plants. So
Yes.
each greenhouse, as she's walking through them, seem to have their own environment, their own type of plants, and they're obviously enchanted to
Mhm.
keep the plants growing year round.
Yeah, because she does describe about how like each one almost feels like a different humidity or a different temperature.
Mhm.
And so now I'm like my little like alerts going off because I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, have we found like another like sorcerer or whatever, like a person that clearly they're magical greenhouses.
Well, and this
So,
seems very complex magic. It's not that all of the greenhouses are the same. Each
mhm,
one has to be individual,
mhm.
have individual spells or something on it to
Yeah.
create the different environments.
Yeah, she even describes one of the flowers as like a bird and like how
Mhm.
beautiful it is. So I'm like, okay, we've also got enchanted plants of some sort.
Well, and all these different creatures. She talks about butterflies and diamond
Dragonflies,
dragonflies.
yeah.
I think they were color changing butterflies. There are so many different cool creatures in this that I think is makes the world even more rich.
Yeah.
You know, we have this flying cat. We know that there was a sentient plant she made.
Mhm.
There's these different kinds of insects that inhabit the different greenhouses. And so it's not just the plants that are different, it's also the creatures.
Yeah. She finally does, though, stumble upon the one person that she can find here. She
Mhm.
finds a gardener. Um,
Mhm.
he's kind of like a grumpy man. Here we are finding him, and we find out that
It's
I
my
know.
favorite trope, grumpy sunshine. I'm like, "Oh, he's grumpy. Yay."
And she's very bubbly, so it's,
Mhm.
very grumpy
Mhm.
sunshine. But we find out that she's been shipped to him with the spell to unstatufy her. And he is kind of devastated a little bit because he was like, okay, you're a sorcerer, you're here. And she's like, no, I'm definitely not a sorcerer, I'm a librarian. And
Mhm.
like he's already grumpy, but then like it's almost like his face falls. Like you can feel this like devastation in him.
Mhm.
So now I'm going, okay, so clearly the gardener isn't a sorcerer if he was looking for a sorcerer, but why is he looking
Mhm.
for a sorcerer?
Right, because that means that there probably isn't one, but obviously somebody had to set them all up. So, but then he just like walks away from
Yep.
her and doesn't tell her anything. And
No.
that is so annoying, especially as somebody who is a knowledge seeker, for you to just be like, "Oh, well, okay, I have no use for you." You know, like
Mhm.
that's so rude.
So rude.
And he does offer. He's like, "You should eat and
Mhm.
rest. You can stay in my cottage. It's outside the greenhouse. I have other things to do."
Yeah.
He doesn't even show her where it is.
No.
Mind you, she was an inanimate object probably
Moments ago.
an hour ago at most and has no idea where she is or anything about this island. And you're like, go find my cottage. How rude.
Well, and also if it were me, I am directionally challenged. Many people can attest to this, especially my husband. Sorry if you've ever been in a car with me. And so I'm sitting here going, if I were Terlu, I mean, I know that like she didn't go far into these greenhouses, but I don't know that I could even get back out of the greenhouses to start looking for the cottage.
Yeah. if there's no direction, and you see how many are interconnected, we don't know what the state,
Mm-mm.
how far that is.
Yeah.
But luckily, we have an animal companion,
Yes.
and the cat, she puts her trust in the cat and follows him,
Yeah.
and he leads her to the cottage,
Hmm.
which, thanks, bud. Like, we really needed that.
We did.
She goes in there and she kind of feels bad. She's like,
Yeah.
one, actually, I don't know if
Hmm.
this is his cottage or not. It could be somebody else. I don't know who else is on this island.
Exactly.
But it is warm and there is something cooking,
Hmm.
and she goes inside. And for me, he said, go lay down and have a meal.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad. And he
Nope.
was the one that didn't show you. So if it was somebody else's house and they came in and were like, "Oh, who is this lady?"
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Dude told me." You know what I mean? I'd blame it on him.
Yeah. Some random gardener that didn't tell me his name told me to find his cottage. I thought it was his house. This
Mhm.
totally gave me, and this is my teacher brain, but like this whole situation of her being in the cottage and everything. I was like, is she gonna try out every chair and find
Yeah.
the just right one? Is she
Mhm.
gonna try the soup in 3 different bowls to find it at the right temperature?
Yeah, it did feel very
It
Goldilocks.
did.
It did.
I couldn't help myself, but that's the
Mhm.
and then she fell asleep in his bed. I'm like, come on, it is totally playing off of Goldilocks right here.
Well, and here's another instance for me of Sarah Beth Durst's expository and descriptive nature. The
Hmm.
way she talks about how the soup
Yes.
warms her, like you can feel that. It's not
Hmm.
just her visual description, but the way that she's like, "Oh, and it spread up through my
Hmm.
limbs and went down my throat," and things like that. You know what it feels like to come in from like
Hmm.
playing outside or being in the snow, walking your dog, whatever, and have something warm to
Yes.
eat or drink, and how that really feels. And I just truly love that level, the level and care she puts into that.
Hmm.
Um, and I think so. She then sits down and has like this little reading setup, and she's just like reading in the
Yeah.
bed. I was like, that sounds like a dream with
Yep.
the snow falling outside. She's got the cat by her. Oh,
Yep.
I
And
was,
then, just a couple chapters in and she's zonked. And I'm like, you know what? You've been a statue for who knows how long. Yeah, you probably do need rest.
well, and how does that work?
I don't
Were
even
you
know.
rested in there? I don't.
I mean, she woke up starving, so I can imagine she probably also, quote unquote,
Yeah,
woke up hungry.
probably so.
So when she wakes up the next morning, the gardener has quietly done some very kind, caring things for her. Left her
Hmm.
honey cake, which again, the descriptions of the food in this book make you want to snack constantly. I will say that.
You can tell she's a foodie. You can tell
Yes.
Sarah Beth Durst is a foodie because of the way that she talks about foods and sweets and stuff.
Yeah. And he clearly prepared for her because in the washroom, she finds a new set of clothes, is able to, brush her teeth and wash up and everything like that. And I'm sitting here going, how'd you get clothes for her?
That was a question I had. I was like, how does he know her size? Is this more magic? Are there other people? Is he like crowdsourcing things for
Right.
her? What type of supplies does this
Hmm.
island have?
Yeah. So that was something that I was like, okay, like how long have we been prepping? How did we get these things?
Hmm.
Just wondering some inside workings of where we're at.
But I mean, a man that cooks you breakfast
Oh,
sounds like a keeper to me.
yep.
So I feel like he's off to a good start here.
You know what? He's probably just shy. It's fine. But then she does make her way back to the greenhouses, and this might be one of my favorite greenhouses
Yeah.
that she interacts with. She finds this door that has musical notes on it,
Hmm.
and inside are singing plants.
Which is so cool. It like has to be the best greenhouse. It
Yes.
reminded me of Golden Afternoon in Alice in Wonderland, where the
Yeah.
flowers sing in the Disney cartoon. And then also greenhouses come with a creature, and there's a
Hmm.
rabbit-sized griffin. And I'm
Yes.
like, "Oh, I want that to be my animal companion."
That was awesome.
Um so this one has the singing plants, and she is so excited to hear music again.
Hmm.
She's just like kind of basking in it for a moment,
Yeah.
listening to it. And I'm like, I can't imagine how long it's been for her because we
Mhm.
still haven't gotten
No.
any idea of time,
Mm-mm.
how much
No.
time has passed for her.
No. So her whole purpose in being back in the greenhouses is to find this gardener.
Mhm.
She's got these same questions that we've got.
Of
Like,
course.
why am I here? What caused the spell? Like, is my sentence over? She's
Mhm.
got questions. And along the way to searching for him, she also stumbles across greenhouse after greenhouse after greenhouse that
Mhm.
is dead, decrepit. The glass parts have cracked, the snow and the weather is getting in.
Mhm.
And so that leads to more questions, okay? But also maybe some answers because we've seen all of these other greenhouses are enchanted. They're magically kept,
Mhm.
right? I mean, don't get me wrong, there's definitely a gardener there that is watering and taking care of plants' needs. But outside of that, like
He's
if
not
this
recharging that little sun,
exactly.
obviously.
Yeah. So now I'm leading some answers here like, oh, this is why he was hoping that he had a sorcerer out
Mhm.
of her in the statue because he was hoping that that was probably going to be his solution to repairing these at least 5 greenhouses that she's just stumbled across.
Mhm.
Um, and so he finds her there and makes a comment of come where it's safe.
Yeah, he says, "You shouldn't be here, it's not safe, and follow me." And so
Yeah.
she does turn around, and it's like, "Oh, they're not safe. That's
Mhm.
terrifying." And he mentions Emerald, and she's like, "Oh, that must be the sorcerer." And he's like, "It's the cat."
It's the
Like,
cat.
okay, so now we at least have a name for the cat. His
Yep.
name is Emerald.
Mhm.
And he finally introduces
Thank
himself.
goodness. I don't wanna keep calling him the gardener.
His name is Yarrow Verdane. So he, as we just discussed, wants
Mhm.
a sorcerer because some of the greenhouses, the many greenhouses, their enchantments are breaking.
Yes. Um,
We finally get also
yes.
the time frame. She asks what year it is, and
Mm.
she's been a statue for 6 years.
I couldn't even fathom not knowing what happened in my family's lives, let alone the world,
Mhm.
for that period of time.
Exactly. And big things have happened in this world.
Mhm.
And, she's like, I just woke up on this other island. I was on a completely different island.
Yep.
Now I'm here. It's been 6 years. How, what, why? There's
Mhm.
so many things, so many unknowns. And she asks about the sorcerer. And we learn that the sorcerer who created all of these greenhouses has
Mhm.
died.
Yeah.
So there are greenhouses that are failing. There's
Mhm.
365 greenhouses, and 191 of them are dead.
Yeah, and can I just say, when I heard how many Yarrow is taken care of, I was like, "Oh, that's
Hmm.
first of all, that's a lot of greenhouses, but that's a lot of plants and magical plants at that. Wow."
And so, like, he's doing this, and are is he by himself? Are there other people? How could one person
Mhm.
do all of this? She finds out that the island she's on is called Belt,
Belled. Mhm.
and I just keep like she just has to feel so lost and
Mhm.
hopeless because he's basically like, well, we'll put up a flag at the end of the dock and we'll have the supply runner come and get you and you can go wherever you
Mhm.
want. And she's just like, what do you mean? Like, what do I do? Am
Yeah.
I technically a fugitive? Am I still in trouble? Can I go home? Like there's so like I just
Yeah.
feel it has to be so disorienting and just I would feel so lost.
Yeah. Well, and it was devastating too because she's like, "I don't have anywhere to go."
Mhm.
And so that was pretty heartbreaking. I
Mhm.
mean, I know that she's got family and I understand, like, my heart broke because I was like, okay, you do probably have somewhere to go. Like, I couldn't imagine
Yeah.
like her family completely disowning her. I'm sure that I don't know, if she were, my sister, my daughter, my best
Mhm.
friend,
Mhm.
whoever, in connection to me, I would want to know that she was no longer a statue. I would want to know that she was alive and well at the
Mhm.
very least. And I feel like if she communicated with her family in any sort of way, they might be able to give her an idea of the state that her future could be in, and if she does need to
Mhm.
stay hidden on this island or not. But I
True.
also understand her trepidation in that because
Mhm.
it's like, are they upset with me? Would this cause, trouble or turmoil for them? I get it, but I was really sad.
Well, I think she's also embarrassed,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
and so it's hard to be like, well, I did this thing and then try to go home, you
Hmm.
know. We get to see another greenhouse, and probably this would probably be my favorite greenhouse because it's
Woohoo.
all the tiny trees and then there are tiny creatures
Yes, I did love this one.
to go along with it. So they have like these little creatures that are living underneath the little tree. I was picturing a bunch of like bonsai trees.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
And so we find that, and I just love the scenery in that one. And he does confirm that he is the only gardener
Yes.
on the island.
Yep, he is. He offers her to like stay on the island or whatever. He goes,
Mhm.
just go pick a cottage and work on fixing it up or whatever. You can stay here for however long you need, kind of thing. I've got too much work to do. I can't help you.
Which with like 200 greenhouses, a little less than
Yeah.
150 or so greenhouses, I get. But at the same time, he could at least help her a little bit. He's like, some of them are going to need lots of
Uh-huh.
repairs. So then she's standing there like, I guess I'm on a cottage tour. I
Yeah.
have to go find something.
Yeah, and as she goes through a couple of these cottages, like looking, I'm like, oh, he wasn't kidding when he said like they need fixing up. Like the first one she opens the door to is infested with wild griffins.
Hmm.
So definitely not a livable,
I,
cottage for her.
I mean, I don't know. She was talking about how she wanted company. At least they would keep her company.
Yeah, but as soon as that one hissed at her, I was like, shut the door and run, lady.
Mhm. This is where I really got Goldilocks vibes because it was
Mm.
like, which cottage is she gonna? She's going into
And
kind of
she
like,
did land on the third one.
she's going through all these different ones, and it's like, oh well, this one needs window repair, and this one
Mm-hmm.
has part of the roof is fallen in, and chimney. And when she finally does pick one, she's like, well, I could pick this one, and then I could take some of the other things from the other cottages.
Yes.
And I think getting a space of your own and getting to put it together
Yeah.
is like one of those fun feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're finally done and you can be like, oh, this is, it's kind of like a sigh of relief. So I feel like that's a good thing for her that
Yeah.
she's finally getting to kind of take some ownership over something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she feels a little lonely. She still has the cat. Emerald
Yes.
is still hanging out with her, but she's kind of got something she can
Focus on.
take by the horns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something
Mhm.
she can focus on. And then I was also sitting here going, okay, I know that Yara's the only person that's on this island with
Mhm.
her. Why are there so many abandoned cottages? What happened? So now I want
Mhm.
not only more background on Terralu and what's, her outcome going to be after being unstatued. But why are all these cottages here? Why are they abandoned? Did some sort of, are we in a Roanoke Island situation? Did some sort of
Mhm.
illness hit? Like, what's
Mhm.
going on? Um, Her main focus when she chooses this blue cottage, she has good running water, which is why she like
Yeah.
decides this one would
Mhm.
be that and it's blue. Because she loves the color blue. She describes it very
Mhm.
nicely. But she's like, okay, in order to stay here even just tonight in its like weird shape that it's in, I would need to be able to put a fire.
Mhm.
And so she goes looking for the things to be able to like clean out the chimney because Yarrow had said, you can use any of the tools that are in my shed, just make sure you return them.
Mhm.
And she stumbles across a tower
Mhm.
and finds this like almost like laboratory.
This for me reminded me of Merlin's tower from the Sword in the
Yes,
Stone,
I wrote that
where
down too.
he has the books everywhere and everything's kind of a little bit of a mess, and but it's kind of still warm and cozy. You can tell somebody scholarly lived there, and that's all I could picture was
Mhm.
that tower from Sword in the Stone.
Yeah. Um, Definitely hasn't been used in a while because it's dusty and whatnot. She's kind of poking around a little bit and finds this little pot with a dead plant in it that's all like curled up.
Mhm.
And she's like, okay, well, the least I can do is try to save this, let alone figure out what
Mhm.
this space is, and gives it a tiny bit of water. Hello, talking rose.
Yeah, the plant springs to life and
Yeah.
opens up
Yep.
and starts talking. It's a purple rose.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and other things that she finds are like some papers that are written in the first language, which is the
Mm-hmm.
language of magic. And so already I'm theorizing the secret to
Yeah.
fixing the greenhouse is in here somewhere.
Some
This
it's
is
gotta be.
this is the sorcerer's tower, obviously. And so this hopefully talking rose
Mm-hmm.
will lead us to that answer, like
Mm-hmm.
why,
Yeah.
and then I'm also kind of theorizing like how she got it. Had to be Regis Velk because that's the only person that was in her corner
Mm.
in the library, so I'm like she has to be the one that sent her here
Mm-hmm.
to help fix these greenhouses because that's the only thing I can
Yeah.
think of, the only purpose.
Yeah.
And so now it's like we have this talking rose. What does she know?
Yeah. What does she know? And thankfully, this talking rose seems to be a little bit of a social butterfly, just like Tara Lou, because
Mm-hmm.
she starts gabbing. And we learn the name of the sorcerer that has passed that created the enchanted greenhouses. His name is Lakin.
Mm-hmm.
And as this little rose is gabby gab gabbing,
Mm-hmm.
um, Tara Lou gets a little bit of like internally terrified. And I totally get it because
Mm-hmm.
who is going to believe that she didn't cast a spell and all she did was water this already sentient rose?
Mm-hmm.
So like all this dread, all of the trepidation of like, are who's gonna catch me? Who's gonna report me?
Yes.
Are they gonna turn me back into a statue? Like
Mm-hmm.
I've I haven't even been awoken for like probably even a full day yet,
Mm-hmm.
and I am back at square one, which would be, I mean, it would scare the bejesus out of me.
Which, too, I feel like Lottie can kind of empathize. Lottie being the rose, she's a
Yes.
resurrection rose, can kind of empathize with Terlu because she was also dormant
Hmm.
for a while and is in a similar state, like
Yeah.
of confusion. Where is the dude that
Yeah.
created me? He should be here. And I think it's so interesting how Sarah Beth Durst takes these plants and like personifies them.
Hmm.
She like Lottie uses her leaves like arms
Yeah.
and legs
Yeah.
and to move around and try to do it on her own.
Yeah.
And she addresses the well, you don't have a mouth thing, so it's like, yeah, it's magic, deal with it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's it has to be so she's having this conversation and it has to be terrifying to think if somebody finds me here
Hmm.
with this and they know what I did,
Yeah.
he or they will probably it could be worse.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why she hides the rose when Yarrow stumbles on her in the tower.
Mhm.
And Yarrow's like, "Why are you here? Like, nobody's been in here for a while. Like, please get out."
Mhm.
And she was like, "Oh, but I found this cottage. Like,
Mhm.
gives him something else to focus on." And so she takes him to the cottage, explains what she needs to do, and Yarrow gives us a little bit more about the cottages and
Mhm.
why they're empty. The one that she's picked was his sister's.
Yeah.
And Tara Lou felt bad about it. She's like, "I can pick a different one." He's like, "No, no, it's yours." And
Well, he says she's gone, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
oh
Because
yeah,
he kind of makes it sound like she died. He's like, "No, she just left. Like they went to Elysium. Like they're fine." But he does seem to not really want to talk about his
hmm,
family.
not very much. No, he basically just says that his sister moved away with the others, and gives the idea that the sorcerer slowly started sending them away,
Mhm.
like one by one in small little pockets. until it was just Yarrow and his dad left on the island.
Mhm.
And then as they're there, or no, sorry, they go back to they're talking and they're going back to Yarrow's cottage to
Mhm.
help get some cleaning supplies for the chimney. And when they get there, they're having their conversation and they hear like pounding on the
Mhm.
door, and Lottie followed them.
Yeah, so when they left the tower, the funny thing about the tower is that the door is locked, but there's a key right next to the door.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you lock the door
Uh
unless you're
huh.
locking something in? So to me, when he locked the door when they left, I thought it was because he knew about the plant and he was
Mm,
locking her inside or something
yeah.
inside. Obviously, that didn't work
Nope. Sure
because
didn't.
Lottie has escaped,
She sure has.
and
She's got
there
determination.
Yarrow had brought Terlu back because he's like, you obviously can't stay here
Yeah.
tonight. Let's like, you can come stay in my cottage, until we have a chance to fix it up.
Yeah.
So he is going to help her. Um, at least he's going to help
Yeah.
her. We find out too that his father got sick and that's why he left. So
Mhm.
that's why Yarrow is the only one, and that was 2 years
Yeah.
ago. So he's
Gosh.
been by himself for 2 years trying to take care of these greenhouses without
Mhm.
anyone. And then, yeah, my question is, how did Lottie get out? Because he locked the door. Did through a window? Did she figure out how to pick the lock? We
Did
may
she
never
scrape
know.
herself underneath? Like, I don't know, she
Mhm.
plant. But when she arrives, I love the absolute chaos of this scene
Yeah.
because Yarrow's completely confused. Um, Terlu is like kind of frozen in terrification.
Well, she's trying to be like, I can explain, I can
Yeah.
explain. Like it, because she's terrified that he's gonna like report her or something. And I'm like, he used magic to wake you up, and he's not a sorcerer, so you're kind of in the same boat.
Bo, yeah.
The cat is tracking the plant to like
His
attack.
little wiggle butt.
Mhm. It's so funny. And then Terlu is trying to get between the cat and the plant. I'm like, girl, he's got wings. You're little,
Yeah.
so this isn't good. This isn't
No.
gonna help.
No. And then Lottie's just like indignation. I almost see this little Rose going like
Mhm. Mhm.
having this like conversation.
The way, if you're listening to the audiobook, the way that the narrator voices her is so
Mhm.
great, and I really love that because like you can really picture this like pretentious little Rose
Yeah.
just up in arms about being left. You left me,
Uh-huh.
and so it's just like she talks about another greenhouse where
Yes.
they go to this greenhouse
Mhm.
and there are these sentient plants because once he Yarrow realizes, oh my gosh, whatever you did it. You were a sorcerer. You reawoke. And she's like, no, I
No, I
just
just
watered
watered
it.
it.
So they go into this other room, and Lottie freaks out because all of these plants have
Mhm.
gone dormant, and she tries to talk to them, and it's so heartbreaking to hear her like beg,
Yes.
beg these plants to wake up,
Mhm.
and she's just like crying trying to get them to wake up.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, water them. And he's like,
Yeah.
I've tried that many times. And he even shows her, he
Yeah.
tries, and nothing happens.
Mhm.
um and then we do get an understanding of who sent her, and it is
Yeah.
Righteous. She
Mhm.
asks about it, and he hands her a letter
Yeah.
that was with her,
Mhm.
was delivered with her. And basically, she says, I think that this could work and help people in multiple ways.
Yeah.
So Terlu realizes that Righteous intended for her to use magic
Yeah.
to help save these greenhouses.
Yeah.
So we're getting a little bit more clarity, but also so many more questions.
Yeah. Well, and it also seems from like the conversations that they're having about the greenhouses and some background on Lakin too, that and I don't know if it's old age or something else is going on, right?
Yep.
Because we're getting very skewed information, very
Mhm.
spotty, not a lot of detail. But Lakin seemed to have grown paranoid
Yeah.
about the greenhouses in his
Mhm.
older age. He wasn't allowing anyone but himself to care for these particular plants, let alone some other places, which is why Yarrow was also one of the last gardeners there.
Mhm.
And he kept sending more and more of the gardeners away. Like he was just starting to
Yeah.
like hermit crab himself. So yeah. So Terlu, thankfully, with
Mhm.
some convincing, because Yarrow was like, I want the help. I'm not gonna turn you in. Like nobody's
Mhm.
gonna know about it. And so she offers to like, sure, yeah, I'll do it. Like I will try my best to look through his, his tower to try to find the
Mhm.
spell that has woken them up. I know what it looks like. I have used a similar one before to
Mhm.
create. This spell's going to look a little different because I'm just waking up what has already been made.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
her study of languages should be a very vital aspect to help.
Yeah, and so they end up in the tower and she's looking at some of his notes and she's
Mhm.
like, this looks close to the first language, but something's different.
Mhm.
And she kind of goes through this whole discussion of like language evolution and like maybe this is like a more ancient dialect
Yeah.
and that's why I can't read it. And she's just having trouble.
Mhm.
And at one point, she looks at Lottie and she says, well, maybe you could sort some things for
Yeah.
me and just give me the ones that look interesting. And Lottie like almost loses it because she had always asked Lakin to help and he would never let her help. So she
Mhm.
always wanted to feel useful. And now she finally is feeling
Yeah.
useful, which I think again is another parallel between her and Terlu. Like
Mhm.
Terlu wanted to be able to help people and now she can,
Mhm.
and getting to see them interact is really great. It
Yeah.
really kind of like breaks down, I think, a little bit of this pretentious wall that Lottie
Mhm.
has up. She, I mean, she guilt trips
Yeah.
Terlu into doing this anyway. Um, but she's going through it and she's like, actually, I think this is a code.
Yeah. I had written that down too because I was like, "Oh wait, we've got an old sorcerer that's becoming paranoid. He's writing something that she's like, it's in the language, but it's not in the language." My mystery brain, my like
Hmm.
Da Vinci Code person went,
Hmm.
"This seems like we've got some coding going on here." So yeah, that was.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense. He seemed to have been losing his mind, and my question is that because of his extended life? Like
Mhm.
they do say he's lived almost two lifetimes. Is this is this age? Is this
Yeah.
something else? Um, but she then is like looking through things and she's like, there has to be a code book.
Mhm.
This made me think of if you've ever watched the show Sherlock,
Yes.
season 1, episode 2, they crack a code using a book,
Mhm.
not a random book, but like a regular book, and they have to use numbers to like crack the code. And so that's what she's like, there has to be something somewhere. I
Mhm.
don't know where. Do you
Mhm.
guys have any ideas? And they're like, okay, well, this is a little bit um this is it's getting late. You need rest and food. And
Mhm.
Lottie's like, I'll just take some water.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't. I'm
I don't.
fine.
I'm good. Yeah. One of the things that I liked in particular about this scene is Tara Lou's reflection on the teamwork aspect of this,
Hmm.
because Yarrow's in the tower helping clean because
Hmm.
it's a mess, right?
Hmm.
She and Lottie are going through it. Lottie's sorting all the papers and she's picking up the, those interesting ones to try to figure out
Hmm.
this code or to read what she can. And she was like, this is what I had always dreamed it would be
Hmm.
had I gotten the job that I wanted out of being a librarian. And I absolutely loved that to see, like, oh, this is what I've always wanted.
Hmm.
It was so cute.
It is. And so Yarrow is like, okay, let's go back to the cottage
Mhm.
and eat something, and we can pick this back up tomorrow. And Lottie's like, I'll stay here and sort. And,
Mhm.
well, last time she freaked out about being alone, being left. And so Terlu's like, are you sure you don't want to come? And she's like, basically, yeah, this is my home.
Mhm.
So hopefully Lottie will make some good progress in the meantime. But as they're walking back to his cottage, Terlu gets him talking about the greenhouses and the plants.
Mhm.
And one of the best things, at least for me, is listening to somebody talk about something that they're
Yep.
truly passionate about. And she realizes that this is like the key to opening him up. And so she doesn't talk a lot. She just like
Mhm.
asks a question here or there and just listens to him talk about the plants. And in a
Mhm.
way, like also building a great rapport between them so that
Mhm.
maybe he's not so guarded or so grumpy.
Yeah. Um, he also mentions when he's talking that those plants went silent or dormant before Lakin had died. And so I'm wondering if there were two different questions I had here that kind of go to this. Did Lakin do something to them for them to go dormant?
Yeah.
Or was there some sort of like almost like plant disease that spread? And that's one of the reasons why all the plant or all the other greenhouses are slowly dying. Like, is this some
Yeah.
sort of trickle effect?
Or was it something like we obviously know Lakin was paranoid and something was going on with his mind. So
Hmm.
did was whatever was going on with his mind then breaking down the magic, like
Yeah.
we're not entirely certain how the magic system really truly works.
Hmm.
Like what is the longevity? Does the sorcerer, obviously he doesn't need to be alive because some of the greenhouses are still functioning, but are they slowly dying because like there's so
Hmm.
many questions. And the frustrating part is Yarrow doesn't know.
Mm-mm.
He doesn't He's like, "I'm not a magician, basically.
Yeah.
I'm a gardener. I know my plants,
Yeah.
but I don't really know anything." And that's obviously why he was hoping Terlu would figure it or would be there to help figure it out.
Yeah.
And she asks him about if he had ever, I think they're talking about like winter solstice for her.
Oh,
But
yeah.
she asks if he's ever left the island.
Hmm.
And he said no, he's never left this island. And I'm wondering, was it the same for his family? Because that would be crazy brave of them
Yeah.
to just pick up and move if they had never gone anywhere else or knew anything
Hmm.
else and then move to a completely different place.
Yeah.
But he doesn't seem to have a frame of reference
Mm-mm.
for anything else,
Yeah.
like anywhere else. He just knows this island
Hmm.
and he knows his greenhouses.
Yeah. So seeing the devastation that's happening, I can definitely, I don't know, my heart kind of breaks because, like,
Yeah.
yeah, you got the love for the plants, but you're also watching your home kind of die.
Yeah.
So, we see Tara Lou here has spent some time trying to figure out this spell, and it's convincing her more and more that there is
Mhm.
a code book somewhere. And she goes into a little bit of history with the Ginians, if I'm
Mhm.
saying that correctly or whatever. And basically that, they created mazes and they would put their greatest treasures in the middle of the maze.
Mhm.
And the reason it's brought up is because she finds a lot
Yeah.
of information on them within his tower.
Mhm.
And I loved this because their greatest treasure were books.
Exactly. She's like, there has to be a code book. And for me, I'm like, wouldn't he have kept it on his person? So
Hmm.
me, I'm like, where's his body?
Yeah.
But the Janaeans are an island that, when the Empire came, actually held them off for like, I think it was multiple years, like
Hmm.
10 years, by building mazes. And that made them conquering this island very difficult.
Hmm.
Eventually they did, but at the center of the maze was their knowledge.
Hmm.
And she's like, I bet he did something similar. And Yarrow says, yeah, there's a maze. There's
In a greenhouse.
definitely a maze in one of the greenhouses, and I've never been able to solve it.
Nope, he sure hasn't. He talks about how Lakin laid his most elaborate spells on this particular greenhouse, so that basically Yarrow has not had to enter it to maintain any of the plants. Like,
Mm-hmm.
none of the stuff that he's having to do for the other greenhouses, he has to do for this. Does he have? He doesn't have to do it for this one.
Yep.
And so they being Terelu, Yarrow, and Lottie all make their way to this particular greenhouse because she's convinced that if he's made this maze, the code book, like the break the code, is in the middle.
Well, and one of the reasons he doesn't like going in there is that there are dragons. There are tiny
Tiny
dragons
dragons.
that are in the greenhouse that are kind of protectors, but also I thought the really cool thing was that they're actually the greenhouse's pollinators.
Yes.
And so you like using them in the place of bees, I thought was
Mm-hmm.
really cool. But we see them enter, and Lottie's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna run between these plants," and he's like, "You don't want to do that." And a
Mm-mm.
tiny dragon swoops down in between and almost sets her on fire,
Yeah.
breathes fire at her, and she's like, "Oh my gosh,"
Yeah.
And he's like, "I tried to tell you." He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't even want to go in.
Mm-mm.
He doesn't want to go in at all. He's gonna stay outside or go to a different greenhouse, but he ends up he's like, okay, they're not going to make it.
Yeah.
They're going to get hurt.
Well, and it's interesting how protected Lakin has made this greenhouse too, because
Mhm.
in order to get in, they had to solve like a puzzle. They
Mhm.
had to make the lock was like this chrysanthemum thing
Yep.
to be able to get in the first place. And then, it's all of these places are greenhouses, which are made out of glass for a reason. It helps with the environment. This one, he's replaced all of the greenhouse
Mhm.
glass with mirrors to
Yep.
make this like illusionary effect, which could be very
Disorienting.
yes, disorienting to those that are trying to go through it as well. And then, God bless Lottie because they're making their way through this maze, or at least trying to. And then she's telling every bee related joke
Oh
that
yeah.
she
Mhm.
what do you call a bee that's been put under a spell?
Bewitched.
Bewitched.
Mhm.
She makes a couple other ones that aren't quite as good as that one, but here we are.
Mhm.
And then, also Lottie being Lottie decides to cause all of the trouble in the
Oh
world.
yeah. So she tried. Yarrow says don't run in
Hmm.
between, and she waits until he's like not really paying
Yep.
attention, and then does it anyway
Yep.
because what's happened is Emerald has gotten into the
Yes. I
greenhouse
forgot
with
Emerald went
them,
them.
and he's like, "Don't let the cat get near the dragons," because he chases the
Yep.
dragons, and then the dragons start chasing him, and it's a whole thing. And so Yarrow is distracted with that, and Lottie runs away, and one of the dragons goes after her.
Yep.
And I'm like, he knows what's going on. You need to listen. You need to chill out, girlfriend. You're going to
Mm-mm.
get yourself burnt to a crisp.
Yes.
So now it's the two of them.
Yep.
They're trying to. Terelu has this thing where she's like, just keep the wall to your left
Yeah, the
and
sunflowers.
the
Hmm.
sunflower wall to your left, and that will help us solve the maze. It may take a little longer,
Yep.
but it will help us solve it. And Lottie's gone.
Yep.
Emerald's in cat and mouse with the dragons,
Yep.
chaos, and the plants start moving.
Yeah, the maze wall plantness starts changing. And
They get
so,
they get up
yep.
and move. Like they dig their own roots up and walk.
Yep. Mhm. So now we know why Lakin has never been able to solve this maze because it's constantly changing. But
Mhm.
that gets Terelu's brain moving because
Her plan won't work now.
her plan won't work. But if Lakin, has
Mhm.
put something that he might need access to or needs to go add to or put something else in the center of this maze, there has to be like a secret path or a way to the center. There
Mhm.
has to be, this like safe way that he's been
Exactly.
able to do. And so they try this idea of taming the dragons. Um,
Mhm.
and Yarrow, this reminds me a little bit right here of Hagrid from Harry Potter and his big coat
Mhm.
because he starts pulling things out of pockets.
Mhm. He got a lot of things in his
I mean,
pockets.
he's got trowels and mini watering cans and just food, all sorts of
He pulls
things.
out like beans and a hunk of cheese
Yes.
and seeds, and then finally he pulls out some honeycomb, and he's
Yes.
like, they're pollinators, they'll probably be attracted to this.
Yes.
And they actually are. Some of them take him up on that, and not
Mhm.
all of them. Some of them are still running off with Emerald, but like 4 or 6 of them take a little bit of the honeycomb
Yep.
and make a beeline for where they're their hoard is, and so they can follow them
Yeah.
because the flowers move out of their way.
Yeah. And I love it because now we're getting into dragon lore and we've got tiny dragons,
Hmm.
also pollinators, with a treasure trove.
And they have this tiny little hoard. Once they get there,
Yes.
Lottie is sitting on top of it.
Yep.
So they didn't hurt her. They just brought her back for treasure.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of digging through it. And at the bottom, they see a thin, slim book and they find it. It's the code book.
Yes.
But it's it's dragons. You can't just take
Nope.
part of their treasure. And Yarrow trades a hunk of chocolate for it.
Yes.
He like has to mime it a couple times, but he's like this for this, and they finally accept the chocolate so that they can take the code book out.
Yeah. Um, so they make their way back and as Tara, they're way back to Yarrow's cottage now.
Hmm.
And I love this little moment here because I feel like this was one of those like grumpy sunshine, like they're kind of connecting these two.
Hmm.
He lets her sit down and be cozy. He's put in a separate bed in his cottage for
Hmm.
her. And he's like, start going through that code book. Like, I'm gonna make honey cake for you.
Hmm.
And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And I feel like there's a little moment where this kind of like all things like click for Tierlu because the whole reason that she left home in the first place to become a librarian was to find a place to belong and to have a purpose.
Hmm.
And she feels like she does with everything that she's doing with Yarrow and Lottie.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that kind of like captured a lot of like this warm and fuzzy feeling in this like
Hmm.
adventure but cozy setting for me as we came to the conclusion of this chapter.
Well, and one thing Lottie says to Terlu as they are exiting the greenhouse, she's like, "You save his greenhouses, and that boy will walk across water for you." So
Yes.
we're already starting to get like we're getting the tips of the romance. Obviously,
Hmm.
Terlu has been talking about how handsome he is the whole
Yes.
time, and he's kind of breaking down his grumpiness. He's being less and less grumpy with
Hmm.
her. He's seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. They're building more and more rapport. But I wrote that down too, that Terlu just wants a found family and some purpose, and she's
Yeah.
finally finding it. And that's a beautiful thing to see. I always enjoy when you get the first like bits of those moments in the
Yeah.
cozy fantasy books that I read is like, oh, we're like this is wonderful.
Yeah.
But that brings us to the end of our first section for Enchanted Greenhouse.
Yes.
We are in the middle of Terlu trying to crack this code to
Hmm.
save the greenhouses. And hopefully, in the upcoming section, we'll get more on how she plans to do that,
Yeah.
but also what's going on in the greater world and
Yes.
are they ever going to see this supply runner they keep talking about?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they're going to need ingredients because they
Yeah.
do talk about that for spells. It's
Hmm.
not just words, you also need certain ingredients.
Yeah.
So, how are they going to come together?
Yeah. For just the start of this book, I really have loved the dynamic of the characters and the comic relief that Lottie gives just by herself. Like this tiny little Rose has a lot of oomph to her.
Hmm.
And of course, the addition of our animal
Oh,
companion,
always.
always. And we know how much you love the Grumpy Sunshine. I have to say, there's a little bit of a forced proximity thing here too.
Oh, yeah.
We're not doing a one bed kind of thing, but
No, but she's pretty close.
pretty
They're in a
close.
one room cottage,
Mm,
so.
yeah. Some things that I'm hoping to see. I want to see Cherlu get some confidence.
Mhm.
Just have a little bit more in herself because she's already a great main character. And if she could just stand firm in a belief of herself, she could do some beyond amazing things. So I'm hoping that
Mhm.
we get to see her
Yeah.
confidence build as we continue reading. Um, I also have to say, I love the magical plant element.
Mhm.
It's perfect. It's like absolute perfection. And I want to know more about Yarrow and the island's history. I hope we get more of that as we
Mhm.
go along as well.
Yeah, I want to know more about like what inspired Lakin to even do this in the first
Mhm.
place and why. So, like, because he has a greenhouse for every day of the year.
Yeah.
So they said 365.
Yeah.
And, like, was this commissioned by somebody? Like, why?
Why?
We didn't talk too much about it, but there was a part where Yarrow talks about, like, there's a whole greenhouse just for tomatoes.
Yes.
When he's like, every type of tomato you can think of, and he talks about how there's a seasonal greenhouse, food greenhouse
Mhm.
for each season, so that there's always
Fruit.
different types of fruit from the
Mhm.
or foods
Food. Yeah.
from
Mhm.
different seasons. So there's so much more, and
Mhm.
I want to, like, hear about all of that. And all the little, I mean, I love all the little creatures.
Yes.
So I love how rich the world is with all of that. Like, there is so much, there is romance, obviously.
Mhm.
We're seeing it come together, but I feel like there's such a good, fantastical, rich world
Yeah.
that I don't feel like it's romance with fantasy. I feel like
Mhm.
they're very well balanced
I do
in
too.
this.
I do too. All right. So when you join us next time, we will be continuing our read for Enchanted Greenhouse, and we'll be covering chapters 13 through 23. And we hope that you'll join us then.
See you then.